and welcome to today's webinar, which is all about working from home. I'm Ruth Rowan.
Hi, I'm Nikki Eldridge.
And we both work for Building Business Consultancy, and we are the organisation delivering the business support for enterprising East North Lancs. So, as you're all aware, the new way of working since March 2020 has been working from home wherever possible. So we're just going to spend the next 20 minutes or so talking together about the challenges, the positives, and some top tips about working from home. So first of all, I thought it'd be good for Nikki and I just to talk through some of the challenges, and some of these are listed here that you can see. But Nikki, obviously we've been thrown into working from home, haven't we? Pretty quickly. And you know, what do you think about it in the sense of isolation?
Absolutely. As well as the stress of COVID and the situation that we're in, we've all had to develop very quickly to a new working environment. I think isolation is one for me. You've put that on your slide, and it's very key for me because something I miss is that human contact. I wasn't used to using video platforms like this. I didn't know what Zoom was. So I've had to learn very quickly how to do that and just get used to it as a new way of working. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think isolation is really, really key. I think for me, the big thing, being a mum of 3 children and a busy life, it's distractions. And I think that's been a real learning curve. And I remember one of the first webinars that I delivered, and I'd said to my husband, and this was in the full lockdown, the first lockdown, and I'd said to him, right, I've got to deliver a webinar and I don't need any distractions. So he thought it was great to send our eldest to go and practice his saxophone. And I'm sitting there thinking, what do I do? Do I just carry on letting him play the saxophone and ignore it? Or do I stop my webinar? But I think it's about realization that actually it doesn't matter. You know, I think we had a discussion, Nikki, didn't we, about pets as well. We've both got dogs, and those dogs are massive parts of our lives, and they are part of the calls and the things that we have to do. So distractions, I think, is really key. I think it's trying to minimize them, isn't it? And I think, I don't know about you, but the more we get into the pattern and feeling more comfortable about working from home, almost the distractions disappear.
I think you're right. And I think it's about becoming confident with them. When I started holding one-to-one meetings over platforms like this, I've got a little dog who's very cute, but if anybody comes to my door, she goes crazy. And so as I'm having a business one-to-one call with a client, if anybody came to the door, she'd start barking really loudly, and I'd be trying to find the mute button, and I'd be panicking, and I used to find it really embarrassing and worried that it was really unprofessional. So just as you've said, I had to make sure I knew where the mute button was. And now what I do is I say to clients, as I'm doing now, and I hope she doesn't bark in this podcast, but anyway, if she does, you'll see what I mean. So what I do now is that I've got a bit of a strategy where I'll say to clients, I do have a little dog, and often she'll jump on my lap, and make it a bit of an icebreaker as well. But I think because I've got more used to that and developed confidence in that, I'm not panicking and worrying. And I think that would come across, and it's how you then cope with that. Think about it and plan and develop that strategy so that you are more confident with it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're really key. I think one of the other things, this has been a really big thing actually, accessibility to resources. And I know that the other ladies in our office, when it first started, there was a big panic about client folders and client information and specific things. And I think what we've done is work really hard to use the online resources that we've got with Google Docs and Dropbox and things like that, just to make sure that actually, and you know, we've got a really good CRM system, but I know a lot of the businesses that we've worked with haven't had that. So I know one of the big challenges that I've had, Nikki, and I know I'm sure you have with some of the clients, is saying, right, okay, where can we host those resources? Your staff members need to have access to that. So use some of these platforms, and I think it's really pushed businesses to be a lot more tech savvy and to be a lot more online savvy, but comes with that security risk as well, doesn't there? You know, that's been a big issue for a lot of businesses. I know for quite a long time people were even quite worried about using Zoom, weren't they? And then now, you know, the security's got better and better. So I think that's been really key, and I think, you know, I'm quite proud actually of what we've done in the sense of documents and processes. You know, we've almost got a really good process system in place now, and where everyone's communicating with everybody, they know where documents need to be put. So that's really key, but I think that takes time, doesn't it, for businesses, and there's still a lot of businesses that haven't done it yet.
I agree, but I think initially when our first lockdown happened, and you sent out a message to all of your workers about a plan that we would load documents and we would use online platforms. And initially I struggled with things like Google Docs, and because I'm not used to using those. I found a bit of a confidence with pen and paper and writing and taking notes, but actually now I'm used to that, and I'm used to uploading it, and you've got a good system in place. It's actually made my life a lot easier, and it saves time, and we know that those places are secure and follow things like GDPR guidelines. So I think it's making us work a lot slicker and a lot more effectively.
Yeah, and also the impact on the environment, the lack of printing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been absolutely amazing. Our photocopiers, you know, we're giving it back, which is just crazy. If you just thought about that in February, you'd think, oh, I can't cope without a photocopier, but now actually we don't need it. So I think that's been a really good
definitely.
I think the other thing is technology. You know, we even had this trying to set this Zoom webinar up this evening. It's about making sure that we've all got the technology to be able to move forward and to work remotely and work in this way, isn't it? And some of us, we do live in villages, our internet can go down, and I know that especially, and you know, you've got young adults in your house, Nikki, which I'm sure are accessing game systems and TVs and things, and I found it was a complete surge, and I'm like, I need to be online, and they're on Netflix, and they're downloading apps onto their phones, and it's actually the internet really slowed down, didn't it?
Suddenly we became so much more aware of that as we're working at different times and more sort of flexible times, and suddenly I could tell when my son was playing his online video games, you know, whereas before it wouldn't have crossed my mind. I'm like, you know, who's on the internet? So absolutely, that aspect of technology. I live in a remote village. I don't have fiber optic. I'm still on broadband, so it's being aware of that and trying to again put strategies in place to think about certain times when you know maybe an important client call or a conference or something where you really need that stability, and just sort of thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a lot of businesses that have had to invest as well. You know, some staff members didn't have laptops, they didn't have phones. You know, we work with some organisations that we haven't been able to communicate on the telephone to members of their team because they don't actually have work mobiles. So I think there's been a big thing there to basically resource staff with the pieces of technology that they need, the phone, the laptop, the computer, to make sure that they can do their job.
And committing to make investment like that at a very scary time for businesses.
Absolutely.
You know, real leaps of faith there.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the other big challenges, and I've seen this for quite a lot of people, and I think we're all getting a lot better at it now, but it's a lack of structure and routine. I think you know, I'm quite lucky in the sense that I have to get up in the morning, and I've got other people to get up and out the house and get to school and dogs to walk. But I've got quite a lot of friends that live by themselves, that don't have to get up if they don't want to. And you know, working from home, it's been a real lack of structure and routine for them. And you know, I think it's been quite worrying, really. I've you know, I've regularly had to make sure that I put it in my diary to phone people to check that, you know, they've got up, they've gone for a walk, they are getting a bit of structure and routine into their lives.
Yeah, I really do think this is an aspect that it worries me, like you've said, because it's forced a lot of people that have used their daily routine as a bit of a support mechanism for them, particularly people that perhaps suffer with mental health issues, perhaps people that are isolated and live alone at home. Going into the office and having that community around them on a daily basis is absolutely vital. It's something, exactly as you've said, it's made me more aware. I've worked from home, we've worked remotely in different aspects, and we've had an office to go to. So it hasn't been as unusual for us to work from home and organise our day. You're a busy mum, so you're used to getting up and having a routine and being organised through children, and they give you that. I've got my dog, as I've mentioned. She gets me up and makes sure I have to walk her every morning. But it's simple things like that where you do get used to getting up. When you don't have to wear, you know, certain clothes and get in a car and do that drive to work, suddenly you don't have that routine. So it's finding different ways to create a routine. Some of the clients that I've been working with that have been forced into this remote working situation, that are perhaps struggling with it, particularly about motivation, I've been suggesting little mini challenges that they can do for themselves. And it might sound silly, but you know, make a certain amount of client calls, for example, or sales calls, and treat yourself to a cup of tea and a biscuit, or you know, just little things that you can focus on that keep you motivated when you're all on your own and your only motivator is yourself. So it's all of these different strategies that I'm helping to suggest to my clients to help them feel that they're not alone, and actually there are different tips and hints to sort of keep them going and to keep them productive throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the next challenge, the downtime, really links into that. It's about getting that downtime, and this has been a problem actually for businesses for many years. You know, I've worked in, especially with startups that are based at home. I remember, God, it must have been about 10 years ago, working with a lady, and she ran a business from a cellar at home, and she literally did not shut that door. You know, from morning until she went to bed, she was working. And she actually got a dog. You know, we sit there and we joke and we say we've got our dog for our 18, but it really changed her life actually, because it meant that she had something else dependent on her, that even if she wasn't going to eat, that dog needed to eat, it needed to be exercised, and it actually forced her to have that downtime and break. So I really think, and you know, we really support people to say, okay, what would your normal day look like? Have your lunch, you know, shut the door at 5 o'clock. You know, many of us work into the evening as it is, but you need to have that break, you need to have that downtime. And I think we're getting better at it, and you know, and be kind to yourself as well. My days are never the same, so some days I might have not much downtime, and then other days I might have more downtime, and I think actually a positive of working from home means that you can work that way. You know, you can have a day which is really full on and full, but then knowing that you've done that, the next day you can be more flexible and have a bit more downtime. So I think that is good.
I agree that the boundaries from working time and downtime are blurred. And the danger is that they just merge together. Sometimes I'll be engrossed in reviewing a business plan or something that's quite sort of intensive, and the hours would just go, and I won't realise that I've actually been at my laptop all morning and not had a drink, not had a walk around, not got any fresh air. And it's all of those things that you have to think about, because the structures of a normal formal working environment, like an office or getting in the car or going to get some lunch or going to the canteen and having a cup of tea with your colleagues, they're not there. No, you know, and there is that real danger that those structures and formal, you know, boundaries between work, working environment. I think on that point as well, something and some tips that I've been talking to my clients about is actually thinking about your working environment at home. Lots of people, you know, don't have the luxury of a separate study or an office. So what does your area look like where you work? You know, have you got natural light? Is it as private as you can make it? Think, you know, simple things like that, so that you're actually almost sort of going into that different environment away from your settee, your TV or your bedroom, which isn't always possible. But I think it's things like that that can make quite a big difference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the last challenge, I think we added this at the last minute, didn't we, when we were having a discussion, but actually the pressure to look good. We've said that. Funnily enough, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said that they'd been out for a walk before they started their Zoom calls, and their hair had got wet and gone frizzy, and the only thing they had time to do was put a hat on. So they'd sat there all day with a hat on their head because they were worried about what their hair would look like. And I think that's really interesting, and we do, don't we, very quickly think, and you look behind you and think, oh no, I left that there or that there. So there has been a real pressure to dress up and to look good on Zoom calls and things as well.
And it's entering new territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, what do you style your hair? Do you put makeup on? Do you wear, what clothing do you wear? Do you it's really interesting. For me, I love any excuse to try and look as nice as I can, because I miss putting a formal, you know, suit on, and I enjoy dressing up. And for other people, they like not having to feel that pressure of actually wearing something else. But I think we're almost writing the new way of working. You know, maybe there'll be a Zoom outfit, Ruth, you know, maybe, you know, who knows? And I love the fact that this is evolving, you know, in real time. Sometimes I've been on client meetings and conferences, and I've thought people look overdressed. And sometimes I've thought, oh, is that a bit underdressed? Is that, there's no rules really, is there?
No. And I think for a long time it was going a relaxed route for a lot of companies anyway. So it's quite, we can still sit here with our slippers. No more heels. It's amazing.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so they're the challenges, and what we're going to talk about now, we're going to look at some of the positives, and then we're just going to end the session with some top tips on working from home. So some of the positives, I think we've already discussed some of those anyway, Nikki, haven't we? Because we've talked about those in relation to the challenges. But one of the big, and we'll talk about the positives in relation to both the individual working from home, but also businesses. There's some positives for businesses as well. Many businesses we've seen, you know, office blocks in London shutting, you know, shutting their doors, saving companies an absolute fortune. It's really quite interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to those spaces. I was talking to somebody about retail, and they were saying that actually second home purchasing was going up, but commercial property was literally crashing because a lot of people no longer needed that space. Let me just move this out of the way there. But as you can see there, I put minimize travel equals maximizing performance time. And you know, how many people had to get a train or a car or a other form of transport to get to work? And actually, and maximizing that performance time is really good, both for the individual and for the company. I think there was a lot of pressure and stress to get to places, wasn't there? And to cram your day in. So very often someone's working day would be 9 till 5, but actually they would start their working day at 7 o'clock and probably not finish that till 7 p.m. because of the travel from either side. So I think that's been really good for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And the associated potential stress that involves, you know, missed trains and getting into work when you've worried that you're going to be late or miss a meeting. That's incredibly stressful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a really good, you know, win for both the employee and the employer. Also a relaxed working environment. We were really moving forward anyway with a lot more relaxing work environments. Again, this might be a positive, might be a negative. Working from home might not be relaxing for you at all. So it's about getting that balance, and it's understanding that, isn't it?
That's right.
There's a lot of people where actually the home environment isn't a relaxed place. But ultimately it is one of the positives that you can be more relaxed in your working environment. The other thing is you can be anywhere in the world. I think this is actually pretty amazing. Saving businesses time and money. A lot of people I know and companies that we've worked with have staff that work internationally, so a lot of their days will be traveling all over the world, and now I think this is going to be a real game changer for businesses moving forward, that actually business is still happening from wherever that individual is based. So do they really need to take that flight to Australia or to Hong Kong or to Singapore to have that meeting, or actually now can they do it remotely, which is really quite interesting, isn't it?
Definitely, it really is.
And then the flexibility. I think we've said this before, haven't we? And we said this when we looked at some of the challenges, but better use of time for family and work. I think that's been really key. I know a huge amount of people that have said it's been amazing that I get to pick my children up from school every day, which would never ever happen.
I really do agree. You know, family friendly policies, particularly around, you know, the main carer in the family, it can only, I think, be a positive thing. I think for so many companies, this will have propelled their adoption of family friendly working environments, which is fantastic. You know, I think it's so easy to lose sight of the positives that this situation that we find ourselves in with COVID has put upon us, and many of those will be positive, and this is one that I think is brilliant. You know, maybe companies and certainly businesses that I speak to that perhaps would have been hesitant and nervous about allowing people to work from home, people that have got families, they've really had a chance more than any other time to prove, and their employees have had a chance to prove that that's possible. And that's brilliant, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, it's really, really good. You know, that's really great. And then I think the other thing is confidence. I think we were talking about that, and it's that feeling comfortable in your environment, isn't there? So there's a lot of people that we've seen that their confidence is just shot up. You know, they'd be in a meeting before and they wouldn't say anything, whereas now actually they feel more confident. They could be more because they're not in that pressurized environment. They're actually in that more, like we said, relaxed, comfortable, their own habitat, and I think that's really good.
I agree. You know, people that perhaps find, you know, those one-to-one situations, you know, they feel quite nervous. When you take away things like, you know, those obstacles like a desk in front of them or an alien environment, they don't have that. So there is that natural feeling, and that's, I agree with you. I feel that does come across with clients, you know, and then you can get down to more of a interesting conversation with them, because you don't feel all of those initial barriers that you would if perhaps you were in a alien in a different environment. So
I almost feel like the small talk's gone, and we
Yeah.
get straight to the point.
Yeah, that's
It's really
right. Yeah.
strange, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it really has happened.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really great. Thanks, Nikki. And I think that gives everybody a real view of the challenges and some of the positives. So what I want to do now is we're nearly out of time, but I just want to leave you with some top tips of working from home. And if I can get my computer to work. So yeah, here's our top tips on building business and working from home. First of all is dedicated workspace. We've discussed this already, and or area, if possible. You know, many people are working from the end of their beds, and it's just making sure that if you haven't got a dedicated workspace, you've got a bag that you can collect all your work up in and pop it in at the end, and you can tidy it away. I think that's the key. Or a drawer, shove it in a drawer. Structure your day. I think we've speaking about that, and just remember that actually your structure from the day when you used to go into the office every day can change now. You know, we've talked about that flexibility. If you want to get up at 7, do a couple of hours, and if you can, and do a bit of exercise, come back, you know, finish a bit earlier, do some later on. And if you've got the flexibility to be able to do that, then really do it. I think that's really good. Take regular breaks. I think this is really key. Maximize the rules for walking with people when you can. A walking meeting. I think you cannot beat a walking meeting, and obviously the rules are changing all the time, so make sure that you go to the government website and see what you can and can't do. But this is really, really important. But also take regular breaks. Remember, you'd go and make a coffee, you'd go and have your lunch, you go and have a chat with somebody, wouldn't you? You might ask them for more information. Instead of sending them an email, you'd probably walk over to their desk. So just make sure that you have those regular breaks whenever you can. And then you've got the flexibility, opportunities to manage home and work life. I think that has been such a key thing. I don't know about you, Nikki, but that's been a key thing for me, that just silly things, like you can get the washing on. When the washing's finished, you can get it on the line. If it rains, you can get your washing in. Whereas when you're in the office, you'd look out the window, go, damn, it's raining, and I've left my washing out. But you just
Definitely
things like that are changing people's lives. So I think that's really key. So just managing that home and work life, but make sure that you do. Your own well-being is really important. I think, you know, coming back to the challenges that we talked about around isolation, this is what's really important. You know, what are you doing to deal with your well-being? And again, it comes back to some of these things about engaging with people wherever you can, because, you know, that face-to-face, that human contact is essential to us as people. And you know, what I've seen a lot of in the last month actually is because people have almost been too frightened to get back out there and to meet with people. So that's another thing that I think we're going to have to manage as we come out the other end of this, how we do that as well. And then communicate with people. I think that's really key. It's pick up the telephone. You know, I always say to people, and we try and have a Monday morning meeting, don't we? You know, whether it's your project, Nikki, or someone else's project, we have a Monday morning meeting that sets you up for the week. I think if you, and this is what I'm trying to say to a lot of companies. And I was speaking to someone the other day, and they said, oh yeah, we had a team meeting and it was great because we all know what we were doing for the week. I said, have you not been doing that before? And they said, no, we've just sort of been getting on with our jobs. So I think communicate with people is really key. And I think what you need to remember, and I don't know about you, Nikki, but the tone. So tone in email can be really misread sometimes, both positive and negative. Picking up the telephone, seeing someone's face, I think that's really key, because you can see their expression, you can see what they're putting into it, and actually it's probably better over Zoom because I haven't got a mask on. So on Zoom or MS Teams or whatever platform that you're working on. But I think, definitely communicate with people and pick up the phone and regularly speak to somebody. The other thing is work with your organisation to ensure that you have the resources you need to successfully work from home. I think that's really important, and we've spoken about that, haven't we? And we know the challenges for businesses at the moment in relation to you know, worrying about budgets and finance, but it is making sure that you are giving your staff the resources and technology and equipment that they need to successfully work from home. And then finally, this comes back to looking good, isn't it? And what to wear, and some of the positives. And one of the challenges was the pressure to look good, but ensure you maintain a professional image. I think that's really, really key. I think, you know, whilst we're working from home, it's that professional image. You know, you haven't got to dress up for the office as you have, but again, baseball cap, no. You know, it's different things. That it's just common sense. If you're going to a meeting, would you normally do that? And can it be seen, yes or no? Then obviously it's just common sense there, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so that's our top tips for working from home. I hope you all enjoyed that. And please do come and speak to us. We are the providers for the business support through the Enterprising East Northants. So, you know, we are here to help. We can't wait to hear more about your businesses, what you're up to, how you're managing working from home. Our details are on there, but I know that there will be more information coming at the end of this webinar on how you can contact us and the other people involved in the project. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.